Good morning. Good morning to all. My name is Ludovic Tilly. I am the chair of the Coimbra Group of Universities. And today is a great day that will close almost 3 weeks of intense activities after the annual conference and annual meetings of the Coimbra Group. The Coimbra Group is a network of universities based in 23 countries in Europe. It is composed of 41 long-standing education and research-led universities. And today we are celebrating the researchers' professional development and cross-country mobility via the 5th edition of the Coimbra Group Finalists Thesis competition. This final today is really one of the network's flagship activities, in particular on science communication. So this morning we will have the final of this competition, but this will be also the occasion after the pitches of our 3 finalists and while the jury will be deliberating. This is the opportunity for us to also welcome some guest speaker, and today we will have Giulia Malaguardera, who is the president of Eurodoc, the European Council for Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researcher. And this will be the opportunity to discuss with Giulia on the early career researchers' perspective on open science. But this will not be it. And after the final and the results, we will conclude with the award ceremony of the 2021 Arenberg-Coimbra Group Prize for Erasmus students. You may know that the Coimbra Group is very active in the Erasmus and Erasmus Plus programs over the years. And this is an occasion to celebrate the mobility. So without further ado, we will go to the final. But before that, I would like to thank the University of Canada for the technical support and the colleagues in Canada. It was again, because of the pandemic this year that we have to run this competition online normally. And the 3 previous editions were physical at the annual meeting. And last year and this year again, we are forced to run this online. But fortunately, we have the colleagues in Canada who are supporting in the implementation of this event. But without further ado, I would like to introduce our colleague from the University of Würzburg, so Stefan Schroeder, who's the head of office at the graduate schools, and of course Würzburg is a member of the Coimbra Group, and Stefan is also a member of the working group on doctoral studies that is organizing the 3-minute thesis competition. So Stefan, the floor is yours, and good luck to the finalists.
Thank you, Ludovic, for the kind introduction. Before I start, I would like to send my best wishes for a fast recovery to Gunda Huskobler, who would normally host this session today because she's the chair of our working group. But I have the pleasure and honor now to step in for her today and to present the 3-minute thesis finals. So the obvious question is, why would the doctoral studies working group care about a 3-minute thesis? Well, 3-minute thesis, it's a very simple answer, is one of the most successful science communication formats worldwide, with more than 900 universities from 85 countries participating in the meantime. And I just want to show you a few slides illustrating that. I hope you can see it all. This event, or this science communication format, was actually invented by the University of Queensland in Australia. And the goal is very simple, and it's actually counter to all these fancy multimedia things which we are also experiencing today. It's a very simple format. You have to present your thesis and the main results of your thesis in 3 minutes. And you have to do that in a language which is suitable to a non-specialist audience. And the only support you may have is from a single PowerPoint slide. And there are no other resources allowed. I'll come back to that in a second when I talk about the rules and regulations. So before we get into the rules and regulations, let me very quickly introduce to you the 3 finalists of today. And it is very, very interesting to see where these people come from, what they are working on. And it's almost as if somebody who wanted to include maximum diversity and maximum, let's say, importance of current issues in our society worldwide wanted to really bring that into this competition. However, this is a mere coincidence, because the way that this works is that universities of the Coimbra group, the 41 that we have, are actually called upon in order to conduct a local competition. And in this local competition, they are then to nominate their best candidate to the Coimbra group. And then all Coimbra group universities are entitled to actually look through these presentations, which are submitted as videos, in order to determine a short list of 3 candidates, which are then to present at the finals. And this year we had, despite all these very complicated circumstances, there were 20 universities which took upon them to organize such a local contest and submitted their best candidates to be shortlisted. And very interestingly, actually more than the universities that actually participated did actually participate in the voting process. So we had 28 universities of the Coimbra group who actually voted for the best candidates, which also shows that there is a big interest in this competition, at least in my opinion. So normally then these, as Ludovic already said, these 3 shortlisted candidates would present in a live final at the annual Coimbra conference. But as you all know, this is again not possible this year. So this way of doing it is our way of keeping the flame burning. And I really hope that by next year we will have the live format again in front of a real live audience that is also able to give some applause to the candidates, which I think personally is one of the things that is really missing most from these online formats. Anyway, let me quickly run you through the most important issues and especially introduce to you the candidates. So, So we have 3 candidates, as already mentioned. Their number 1 is in this randomly chosen order, they will also present. The first one is Faber Oniogaziri. She will talk about something that might look a bit strange to you right now, but all of you have heard about the AstraZeneca complications, and in a way this may or may not relate. Maybe we will hear something about that from Faber later on. Robin Amsters is from Catholic University Leuven, and he will talk about robotics, another extremely timely research area, research field. And this morning I would have loved to have a robot to bring me a coffee to my bedside, but maybe this is not exactly what he is working on. Let's see. And then the third candidate of today is Dunya Ziyati. She is working on something that looks a bit, how should I say, cryptic, like R2D2 from Star Wars maybe. So she's working on compact PV CSP hybrid systems. What that is, we will hear about that later as well. So here are the rules, just to recap them very quickly. There's a single static PowerPoint slide. As I already said, there's no slide transitions, animations, or movement of any kind allowed. And the slides have to be presented from the beginning onwards. There is no additional electronic media allowed. So as I said, it's a very simple format, no additional props. And you have exactly 3 minutes to present your talk. And formally speaking, everyone exceeding 3 minutes is automatically disqualified. Presentations are to be spoken, so I hope nobody's going to intend to sing or rap or present a poem or something like that. And the presentations have to commence right from the stage, so no grand entrance through some staircase or whatever. Presentations are considered to have commenced when the presenter starts the presentation. And we will do it in a way that I say ready, steady, go, and then the candidates will actually start their presentation. And last but not least, the jury, the judging panel, will then finally decide about who is going to be the winner. But as Ludovic already said, every one of those three candidates is already a winner, and that is to be taken literally because all of them will get a prize anyway. And the decision by the judging panel is final. So the question is, who is this judging panel of today? So we have a very interesting panel this year. Number one, we have Maria Francesca Di Filippo. She is the winner of last year's 3MT competition. So if anyone is an expert on this, then she is. We have Giulia Litini from University of Padua. She is also the chair of the working group STEM. We have Gerald Lind. He is a colleague of mine from the doctoral studies working group, and he's working at the University of Graz on early stage researcher development and running a graduate school-like unit there. Then we have Bevin McGeever. She's also a chair of a working group, Coimbra group working group, and in this case, it's the one on research support officers, and she is from Trinity College in Dublin. And last, but certainly not least, the speaker of the jury today is Rita Pücke. She is a former vice rector of the University of Turku and also a science communication expert. So the judging criteria by which these 5 people should then finally evaluate the 3 presentations are as follows. So first part is on comprehension and content. It says that 3 minutes stipulates that the presentation should be provided in a way that there's a clear description of the background and significance of the research question. The presentation should really give a clear description of the research strategy and the design, and of course also of the results and findings of the ongoing research. And last but not least, presentations have to be done in a way that the outcomes and the conclusions and the impact of the research is also clearly stated. But it's not only about content. Content is very important, of course, and that's also why it's given here on top. But it's also the way how presentations are being done, and that is listed under the heading of engagement and communication. So it's very important, again, to repeat that the language should be in a way that it's appropriate for a non-specialist audience. And the PowerPoint slide that is used to support the presentation should be well defined and should enhance the presentation in some way. And finally, the presenter should always convey enthusiasm, and I'm absolutely sure that there will be no lack of enthusiasm with the 3 candidates that we will see today. And I'm also sure that they will absolutely be able to capture and also maintain the audience's attention. So with this short run through the rules and regulations and also the people who are involved, I would like now to go back to our candidates. And as I already mentioned, Feva Onyo Gaziri is the first candidate to present today. And I also introduced in a way already that every one of us has heard through the media recently that the AstraZeneca vaccine had some effects, unwanted side effects on the brain of some people. And while the topic that she will talk about today is totally different from that side effect of AstraZeneca, it's at least the same organ that is affected, namely the brain. And we will hear from her that it's actually a miracle, in my personal opinion, that the brain works at all and that it does not permanently fail. So she is also, by the way, a very good example for how international, how diverse, how global science has become, because she came to Europe from Africa and now she's a scientist in Sweden, and God knows where her ways will take her after she's done her PhD. But I think also in this morning when we met up to have a small warm up, we heard so many languages being spoken. It's really a global world, and I'm really looking forward to your presentation, Favor. And just to make sure that your microphone works, please switch it on and say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, so I will now give you the countdown, and then I'll ask you to start. So ready, steady, go.
Imagine that you live in this big and beautiful house, and one day you went into the bathroom, turned on the faucet, and realized, oh, the water isn't coming out as much as it usually would. This could be maybe because your water pipes have begun to leak somewhere, or maybe they've become clogged with dirt. Now imagine that that house is actually your brain, and that those water pipes are the blood vessels carrying oxygen and nutrients to the cells and neurons in the brain. Now, if there is any organ that we want functioning at its best, it's the brain, because it controls literally every other process in the body. Unfortunately, this is not the case in the disease I study, called cerebral cavernous malformations. It's a mouthful, so we call it CCM for short. Now, in this disease, patients, both young and old, often experience strokes, seizures, hemorrhages, and memory loss, and liken this to having a ticking bomb in their brain. The only way to treat it right now is through surgery, which is not always an option. And now you're probably wondering, Favor, why does this happen? And how can we help these people? Good question, because that's also what we asked in our research. How does CCM start? How does it progress? And how can we stop it? Using mice models and samples from these patients after they've undergone treatments, we found out that just like your water pipes, that the blood vessels actually become leaky, leading to bleeding. Now, remember that we really, really, really do not want the brain bleeding. To solve this, the body, in a process called coagulation, causes the blood to congeal. This sounds like a great idea, right? Unfortunately, it's not, since the congealing of the blood also means that less oxygen and nutrients flow to the other parts of the brain. This causes dirt and injury, leading to some of the symptoms these patients face. In addition, coagulation activates other processes in the brain, and altogether, they just cause a worsening of this patient's symptoms. These findings are important because for so many other diseases, it's either bleeding or coagulation that happens. In CCM, both happen simultaneously. With this knowledge, we've begun to look for drugs that target this pathway. The hope is to find the balance between bleeding and coagulation and find a drug that creates this balance. Hopefully, we would treat these patients with it and make them feel better. Because remember, we really, really, really do not want the brain bleeding. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Favor, for this wonderful insight into the plumbing of the brain. And I still don't know, maybe we have a second time. Could you comment on the side effects of the AstraZeneca, whether that has any relation to this coagulation disease that you are looking at?
Thank you for your question. Definitely, because it's more or less the same pathways that are dysregulated in both of it. But in CCM, it happens because of genetic issues, while for the vaccine, it's just a side effect of the vaccine or the things used in creating it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we will certainly follow this in the press in the future, maybe even your own work.
Thank you.
So, thank you again. And now we move to the second candidate. This is Robin Amsters from Catholic University in Leuven. And When I first saw his presentation, I thought he seems to be like a bit of a lazy guy. He wants to have a lot of robots that cater for his needs. And like I said in the beginning, bring him the coffee to his bed in order to make sure that they also find their way. Of course, you have to make the robots in a way able to see where they are, to know where they are, and to know where they have to go, and to definitely make sure that they don't get lost on the ways. And this is exactly what Robin is working on. He's working on lighting the way for lost robots. And I'm really looking forward to your presentation. And if you ever sell one of these guys, I will certainly buy one. So just to make sure that everything works fine, maybe you switch on your microphone and say hello.
Hello, good morning.
Wonderful. So that seems to work. So I would now give you a countdown, and I hope you're ready to start. It's ready, steady, go.
This is Randy the robot. His purpose in life is to bring me coffee. But Randy has a problem. He's lost. Now, he could use GPS, but that doesn't work indoors. And Randy is also not rich, so he can't afford the expensive hardware that all of his friends have. And this makes Randy sad. Now, of course, a coffee robot is not very urgent, but indoor location enables so many things. Let's take a look at Randy's siblings, like Betty, the bed. She drives patients through the hospital so that nurses have more time and energy. Or what about Debbie, the defibrillator? She doesn't drive herself, but it is absolutely crucial that nurses can find her quickly. Luckily, Robin the human is here to help. And there are a few ways to do indoor positioning, but all the cool kids are using light these days. Indoors, you need light anyways, so why not make the most of it? And that is exactly what I do. I switch the lights on and off very quickly, and we can't see that, but robots can. And they can use it to figure out where they are. For example, let's say that Randy sees a light flickering 1,000 times per second. That might mean that he's in the hallway. And with multiple lights, he can narrow that down. Now, most systems need to see 3 lights at the same time to get an exact location. But I found a way that works with just 1. And we don't even have to see it all of the time, just some of it. I've achieved that by combining light with other sensors, such as those that measure acceleration. And that gives us a rough idea of how our robot moves, and light then gives more precise location fixes. All sensors have their own weaknesses, but the combination is actually better than the sum of its parts. And it makes light positioning actually possible outside of the lab. Sadly, there's one more problem that other researchers keep ignoring. How do you know where your lights are? Now, you could manually measure this, but that takes a long time. So instead, I taught Randy how to do this. He just drives around and does all the measuring for me. He can do it about as fast as I can, but without all the complaining. So this means that Randy is now officially one of the cool kids. But let's hope he's not too cool to still bring me coffee.
Thank you, Robin, for this wonderful insight in the future to come. I'm sure it's already around the corner. And as far as I know, I've also seen other people working on devices that would, for instance, help people with neurological diseases and things like that to help them orient themselves. So what do you think, how many years will it take before your robot is actually on the market?
Thank you. Good question. I think, well, there are actually already the robots like this working in hospital to move stuff around. So, we're slowly getting there. It's only a couple. So I imagine that in the next couple of years, technologies like this will also be integrated on those robots, and we will see more and more of them in the future.
So you're looking forward to a bright future as an engineer in some company or research institution, and I wish you all the best for your future in that respect. And now, thank you again. We have to move to the third candidate. We are under a bit of a time pressure. Although I could, I would love to talk to all of you much longer, but we have to move on. And we now move to a field of research, which is also extremely important, namely with all the global warming and the question of how on earth should we ever cater for our energy needs, especially if we want to have them in a regenerative form. Here is Dunya Ziati, and she's making us a suggestion of how this problem could be solved in the future. So Dunya, I'm really looking forward to your presentation, and it's also a proof that the STEM area is not only populated by men, and there are also very bright young women working in this field, which is very, very important. So before we start, could you just also switch on your mic to see if it works?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Wonderful. Works well. And if you're ready, then I give you the countdown. Ready, steady, go.
Today, one of the most promising sources to avoid the impact of climate change and to replace fossil fuels is solar energy. Why? Because solar energy is free, abundant, and easy to capture. However, due to the variable nature of sunlight, it remains nearly impossible to rely solely on the sun to supply the world's energy demand. One way to tackle this challenge consists of marrying two mature solar technologies into one compact system. Technology one is photovoltaics, or PV. With PV, sunlight is directly converted into low-cost electricity with the help of sand. Technology two is concentrated solar power, or CSP, where mirrors are used to generate heat, which is then used to produce electricity. So why is this a promising marriage? Well, for PV to massively deliver electricity at night or during cloudy days, batteries are needed. And these batteries are very expensive. And that is where CSP comes in. CSP, along with salt, offers the possibility to store heat for days at a cheap price. In my thesis, I assessed the performance of large-scale PV CSP compact systems. In other words, I'm trying to figure out if this couple is going to last. To do that, I have developed a multi-physics model where thermal, electrical, and optical parts are interacting together, providing very encouraging results. Results that clearly proves the superiority of PV CSP compact systems over standalone technologies. Now, that's good news. The honeymoon is going splendidly. But how will these systems behave under different weather conditions all over the world? Will this marriage last and be fruitful? My thesis aimed to optimize the nature, the geometry, and the size of both of these solar technologies in order to expand the availability of solar electricity beyond daytime, while keeping its price as low as possible. Using the sand of PV and the salt of CSP, I will be able soon to offer cheap, reliable, and dispatchable solar electricity, 24 hours a day, all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this wonderful insight in the future of our energy supply. Again, the same question that I had to Robin, how long do you think it will take to integrate all these technologies?
I think it will take some years because I'm working on, since the combination of the two technologies into one system implies that they will be working on the same operating conditions. So mainly PV can work up to 25 degrees Celsius, but I'm proposing a technology where PV will have to work at 400 degrees Celsius. And that's really high for PV. But now I'm working also on the integration of PV just with the storage unit. And that's really interesting economically and for the production and enabling a stable demand all over the year. So it's like more of an easy technology to get hands on in the upcoming years. But the others, I think we should count 10 to 15 years.
Okay, so let's hope that we will win the race against the global warming to bright young people like you in the future. And now I thank again all the 3 participants in this final, and I would like to hand over now to the jury. The jury will deliberate for about 15 minutes or so, and in the meantime, we will have a discussion for which I hand over to Ludovic for the moment.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Before moving to the discussion with our guest speaker, I would like to really warmly congratulate our 3 finalists. They have done amazing presentations. I mean it. That's really always so warming to see young researchers so bright in communication. Really, congratulations. So now it's actually the time to welcome our colleague Giulia Malaguarnera, who is the president of Eurodoc, the European Council for Doctoral Candidates and Junior Researchers. You're not just here because there is light, right, Giulia? You're here because first we have already some long-standing cooperation and discussions on different occasions, including at the policy level at the Commission and let's say the European scene, but also Eurodoc, and you in particular, you are very much committed to indeed bringing support to the early career researchers. And actually, maybe to start this discussion, you could say a few words about what is Eurodoc, and why not also saying your own academic background and how you started with Eurodoc. So Giulia, please.
Thank you, Ludovic, and it was an amazing presentation from all the candidates. It's amazing to be here today. So what is Eurodoc? Eurodoc is an umbrella association which is formed by national association present in 26 countries in Europe. And we represent early career researchers, so anyone that is starting the PhD till the postdoc position, if there is, or junior academic, let's say. Eurodoc is formed by volunteers, so we are all advocating for making a new healthy environment in the academia. This is why we are advocating for several topics that are research integrity, open science, equality, employment and career, because also the mobility is important, not only in geographical way, but also intersectorally, which means that you can move between several sectors, so not only in academia, but also outside, even in policy. We are having a working group on policy research, which is communicating with the European Commission and also the Council of Europe with the Sustainability and Democracy Working Group, which is a new working group that we have. Of course, the doctoral training and the quality of the research is for us one of the key topics. Also because we are in Europe, we are advocating for the employment condition of the doctoral candidates. This is why we are not calling them PhD students, and we are against this naming. Because anyone that is starting the research is performing a research work, and we need to push for that. Regarding my personal activity and why I joined Eurodoc, I actually joined Eurodoc after my first postdoc, My PhD is in neuropharmacology. I graduated in the University of Catania in a joint program with the University of Bordeaux. But I spent my last year in UK at the University College of London. I was working in the retina, and in particular I was studying a biochemical pathway that I study also in other diseases to understand if it was something that I could measure and it was specific of a disease, because I was studying a common pathway that is present both in the diabetic retinopathy and in the Alzheimer's disease. So I was studying the retina as a mirror of the brain disease. After that, I struggled a lot. So I was in a serious precarity condition. I moved back to Italy. And then I decided to write my own grant for the Marie Curie. And I won the Marie Curie Individual Fellowship in a company, in a startup company. Also because I wanted to explore if I could have any entrepreneurial skills that I could develop after the PhD. So my career was not very straight. And I'm now falling in love of open science, and is there that I see my next step.
Thank you, Julia.
Yes, I was actually, sorry, Stefan, I was just wanted to say that actually what you just described is actually an example of how diverse but still so interesting a career can be. And we have been indeed discussing this issue of the career development even recently last week at the European Research and Innovation Days. And this is something that indeed needs to be strengthened. But Stefan, please hand over to you. You probably want to further discuss regarding doctoral studies.
Yeah, Julia, first of all, I mean, you are like a living example for the III strategy of the European Union, interdisciplinary, intersectoral, and internationally mobile. So congratulations to that. But first of all, I also have to concede something. Actually, we also stumbled over the name of our working group, which is called Doctoral Studies, and we are actually intending to change that because we have exactly the same feeling. It's not about the extension of the bachelor masters in a third cycle here, but it's really something different. It's the first step into real research, and we want this to be reflected by our name. So we're currently thinking about introducing a change here, just to to mention that point also. But I mean, we have seen wonderful examples now of science communication, and you also mentioned research integrity, and the topic of this discussion is open science. In my opinion, these three things are simply manifestations of the same issue, namely that we need to create trust in society for what we do in research. And open science is just one very good example for how such trust can be created towards science, towards the society, but also among scientists. This is also not self-evident that scientists communicate totally openly about their research. So my question would be simply, what is your general position on open science? I mean, certainly it's positive, but maybe you have some more details on that.
Yes. One of my friend, who was also one of the mentors when I started to understand what is open science, said that open science is just good science. And I really like that, because what we don't know is the complete definition, because it's like, even if it always been present in our research work, we never understood it completely. So open science means that all the practice that we are performing in the research can be shared publicly. And maybe this helps all the people to understand that it's nothing completely new, but it's just a way to make the research transparent. It means that it's not just open access publication, because this is what we understood first. Because with the new journal that now are present, with the famous unlocked, it's easy to understand that open science is connected to open access. And also with the principle of the Plan S, which are a list of principles to make the open access a reality. We connect open sciences to open access and open publication. But what we know is that the research is not just about publication, and this is important for Eurodoc, because what we have to think is not anymore on individual people that are measured on the metrics, so on the number of publication, on the number of first author publication, and then in the last author publication and so on. What we want is to understand and open the research team in everyone's talent, which means that if a PhD candidate is good and likes analyze data and is very good to do findable, accessible, interoperable, and reproducible data, can be a very good data scientist. And we need this kind of people in a research team. We need people that are very good on communicating science, as it happened today with the communication talks, that can also involve a citizen in the participation of science. And this is what we call citizen science, which is another aspect of open science. We need the research to be reproducible. And this is why now we have the open notebook and the publication of the methods, the data methods. So in the truth, what is open science is just the transparency of the research process that allows people to be evaluated in a team, and in the collaboration they can perform, not just individually, not just thinking about the competition, not just about the journal impact factor, which we understand that it's the most reading journals, but it is not always reflecting the quality of the research. Or we also need to think about the fact that there are some topics that are on fashion, and of course the citation are higher if it's a very active topic, but there are also smaller fields that are equally important, and that can make the difference in maybe not in the Western countries, but having open publication, open methods, and everything else can be helpful in other countries. I can think about, since I am a pharmacologist, I can think about the rare disease. Can you imagine if all the data are shared and it's like a really small population in a small city that have the disease, but then we connect with other small place, we have a data set that which will be helpful to tackle a problem. So this is a vision also of inclusion and evolution of science.
Actually, Julia, what you just described regarding the rare diseases has been perfectly, to my opinion, demonstrated with the COVID-19 pandemic, because it is actually because all the researchers have shared immediately all the information that maybe we could or they could find some efficient vaccines in a really, really short amount of time. I guess this is one of these examples. Could I ask you briefly to maybe give us, in your opinion, what are currently the main barriers in embracing open science, in particular in the perspective of the doctoral candidates, or let's say more globally the early career researchers? Is it just about training, or is it more complicated?
Well, Eurodoc performed a survey in 2017 and recently last year. And we see that the awareness of what is open science is very low. Of course, with COVID-19, we hope that this trend is completely changing. And actually, the practices are starting to be performed by everyone now. So it's harder to not be aware in this particular moment. And even if the COVID-19 was very sad for our life, and we had to adapt very severely, it is also opening up the way to do the research. So this is an amazing achievement that we have in just 1 year. So the first barrier that I can see is for sure the training and the awareness. The awareness is the first. The training is the second, because when we speak about open data and to do in a fair way, neither the senior researchers have a big idea, because at that time, before, it was not a requirement. And so it's normal that we are a little bit struggling, because there are new software, new infrastructure that we need to learn how to use. The European Commission has invested so much money into create infrastructure that enables researchers to perform these practices. So for sure, the training is important, and we also need to be open to this new technique. And we need to help early career researchers from the start, because actually they are the ones that are learning how to perform research. And if they really learn from the start to do it in an open science way, so in the best way, for sure, we will have benefits in the society. Other challenges are related to the assessment, so to the evaluation that it's both at the doctoral level and to get grant or to get a position. Because as you mentioned before, Ludwig, we know that the precarity condition of early career researchers is a big problem, and it's very hard to tackle. Because there are few positions, that's true. There is a few awareness of the skills that the early career researchers can acquire during the PhD. And also the competence that can be transferred to other fields. There are shorter route to get some kind of position that then at the end we would like to have as PhDs. So I can see many challenges, and it requires a lot of help for several actors, which are institutions, which are university, which are doctoral programs, funders. So we need just to reset all the process and start anew probably like we did with the open access. So we set a date, and then we decide, okay, in this date we must be prepared to switch. So this is my hope.
So just to sum, I mean, you nicely described all the challenges. So what, I mean, if you would nail that down to one or two or three key recommendations or claims that you would make, what would be your three key points that you would like to convey for action, so to say?
Increase the awareness. Don't be afraid to train people to perform open science, and don't be afraid to share negative results, which are important to spend less money in the research. So I think this is we need to change the mindset. And we have the instrument, and we need just to use them. Just let's set a date, and we should switch.
So thank you very much for this clear statement. I think you're absolutely right. We do need to bring that into the minds of the people. It's very often with many things in science, it's more a question of attitude rather than of knowledge. And we have to develop this attitude in the future. So thank you very much again. Thank you, Ludovic. Thank you, Julia. And it's now my pleasure to call upon Rita. I hope the jury has come to a conclusion. Probably it was quite difficult, but I hope we gave you enough time for deliberation. And please now announce the results.
Thank you, Stefan. And especially thank to Favor, Robin, and Dunia for excellent, inspiring presentations on extremely important topics. You gave us in the jury a really real challenge to decide who will be the winner of this year's competition. And as mentioned already earlier, you are all winners, of course. Anyway, the jury has now made the decision. The third prize goes to Robin Amsters from Catholic University Leuven. And the second prize goes to Favor Onyogaziri from Uppsala University. And Favor, we would like to thank you especially for your enthusiasm. We felt it even online, your enthusiasm for your topic. So the winner of the Coimbra Group 3-minute thesis competition 2021 is Dunia Ziati from University of Montpellier. And the jury decided to award the first prize to you, Dunia, because you gave a very clear background to your research question. You described the significance of the question, and you made us want to know more about it. And you were also very enthusiastic, although I must say that maybe Favor was even more enthusiastic. And you spent your 3 minutes in a perfect way. You had short but inspiring introduction. Then you used most of the time for the research itself, its design, findings, and impact not only for science, but for the society and ordinary people as well. You had clearly a social aspect also in your presentation. Your slide was informative and supported your presentation, but didn't steal the attention from you because you were the main presenter anyway. You had maybe the most complicated title. At least the jury thought that the title was most complicated, but you made extremely clear what is it about. The language you used was also appropriate for a non-specialist audience, but not trivializing, which is also important because this is a thesis competition. This is not a stand-up show. And we felt that you had a good contact with the audience, even in this remote online mode. And I'm sure that it would have been excellent in a face-to-face event. So congratulations for excellent research communication and good luck in your future study.
Yeah, thank you, Rita, for this very nice appraisal. I think it's really a big shame that we cannot applaud online. As I said in the beginning, one of the biggest drawbacks that there is no direct interaction between the audience and the participants. So I would like to thank all the participants again very, very much for their input, for their enthusiasm, for their willingness also to perform under these very complicated and really less than perfect conditions for everybody. And I hope you will carry on the idea, and I hope that next year we will see even more candidates participating. Let's have a target, maybe 30 next year instead of 20. And I would, of course, also then like to thank the jury who really took this very seriously, as you have seen from the appraisal by Rita. So thanks everybody again. And as we are already running a bit late, I will now hand over to Ludovic without any further ado and say bye-bye from my side.
Thank you very much. Of course, first I would like to congratulate once again the three finalists, and a special applaud to Dunia for winning the first prize. And of course, we should not forget the excellent contribution from Fever and Robin. So the three of you really deserve the prizes. But again, a special mention to Dunia. We will see if at the end we can give you back a few seconds to say a few words. But without waiting too much, because as you mentioned, Stefan, we are a bit behind schedule. I would like now to introduce the last part of the event of today. And this is now the Arenberg-Coimbra Group Prize for Erasmus students. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome on the scene the Duke of Arenberg. So Your Highness, it's a pleasure to welcome you this year once again, unfortunately online, but we continue our collaboration for this prize. And we also have with us the winner of the prize, Catarina Vanderhoff. So good morning, Catarina. It's a pleasure to see you again, unfortunately online, but thanks to technology, we can at least see each other within these small screens. Let me just before giving you the floor, Your Highness, I would like to recall a few points that you have been funding the prize through the Arenberg Foundation every year since 2007. So this is the 14th edition. Maybe over the past 14 years, I could say that when we look back, we see that the profiles of applicants cover more than half of the whole Coimbra Group member universities regarding the nominations. So it is a diverse contribution. And 80% of the Coimbra Group members universities are concerned as a host universities for the Erasmus exchange period of the different applicants. So it's really most of our universities within the group that are participating to this prize. And of course, this is very important that we keep the flame burning for the next years, especially after the last year that has been particularly impacted in terms of mobility. We all look forward to resuming the Erasmus mobilities as soon as the sanitary conditions allow. I will briefly say a few words about the laureate, but I'm pretty sure, Your Highness, that you will also say a few words, and Catarina as well will say probably a few things. But Catarina Vanderhoff is from the University of Göttingen. She spent her 5 months Erasmus exchange at the University of Granada in Spain in the academic year 2018-19, so a bit before the COVID-19 pandemic. And last year, in August 2020, she obtained a master's degree with distinction in psychology from the University of Göttingen. So without further ado, Your Highness, please say a few words, and then this will be up to the winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear me?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear rectors, professors and students of the Coimbra Group, dear representatives of the European Commission, Mesdames et Messieurs, meine Damen und Herren, geachte Damen und Herren, thank you for being with us today as we are awarding the 2021 Arenberg-Coimbra Group Prize, which recognizes the academic value of the Erasmus Students Exchange. 2021 is again a very special year for all of us as well, since the pandemic is still going on. As I said last year, if we look back in time, we realize that everything is possible, that nothing is ever granted, that life is a never-ending movement for the better or for the worse. The withdrawal of the UK government from the Erasmus program while setting up a mobility program for UK students, only that is without any financial support for the reciprocity of exchange, is a perfect example of the Black Swan theory and a lost opportunity for future generations of students. This is why the Arenberg Foundation promotes history, the summary of all human knowledge, to give us some psychological and emotional stability at a time where the pandemic has become an infodemic. An infodemic, the bad news generally prevailing over the good news. For interesting developments took place in the last 12 months, as we have realized. We all took notice that breathtaking inventions were made in the medical sector thanks to the mRNA technology, and that the vaccines developed by Moderna and BioNTech have already saved millions of lives. In fact, we may be at the beginning of a new era in the field of medicine, although many of us don't realize it yet. What is sure, though, is that these new technologies wouldn't have been made possible without risk-taking entrepreneurs who managed to convince venture capitalists to bet the farm on this new technology for more than 10 years at a loss. One more proof that we have to give as much freedom as possible to true entrepreneurship and nurture it in our European universities. Second, the European Commission has become more powerful as the European governments did not only task her with coordinating the vaccination program at the European level, but accepted for the first time, the idea of European loans, a concept that could be used at a later stage for a European defense community with a pan-European defense force, something that had already been tried but rejected by the French Parliament in 1954. 3, all of us have learned to work from home with great success, and we all hope that we will not go back to normal after the pandemic, meaning that home working will be an option for all of us, maybe 1 or 2 days a week, something that would help fight climate change and prevent us losing our time, temper, and health in horrible traffic jams and railroad delays. 4, thanks to big tech and their increased influence over the course of the pandemic, the so-called woke and cancel cultures have spread from USA to Europe. It remains to be seen if the European universities are going to manage to preserve their intellectual independence and to keep on fostering our culture, a culture of real debate, the essence of the world university. Our Arenberg Group Prize for Erasmus students has been awarded every year since 2007, the first time being in Turku, Finland, almost 15 years ago, and much before any other international recognition of Erasmus activities. This reveals the great importance that both the Arenberg Foundation and the Coimbra Group have a place in the physical mobility of students and researchers within Europe. Indeed, these Erasmus mobilities play a crucial role in strengthening the European integration and identity from the bottom up, That is important. When we hear a lot about virtual mobility, we know in the deep down that nothing replaces the face-to-face contact, the shortest distance between two people being a smile and remaining a smile. This shall encourage us to continue enhancing and promoting the circulation of students and researchers within Europe, which, as our laureate Catarina Vanderhoff demonstrates this year, provides an essential contribution to the advancement, excellence, and cross-fertilization of academic work. La Fondation d'Arenberg fait la promotion de l'histoire de la cultuur dans un esprit résolument européen à partir de la ville belge d'Enghien, Edige in het Nederlands, waar Nederlandstalige mensen altijd welkom zijn. Nous mettons un grand fonds d'archives familiales à la disposition des chercheurs qui viennent de toute l'Europe. Nous organisons des concerts, des conférences, des séminaires, des rallyes automobiles culturels. Nous organisons aussi ou participons à des expositions, comme par exemple celles qui se tiendront à Bonn en France et à Essen en Allemagne en automne. Nous attribuons différents prix, à savoir 2 prix d'histoire tous les 2 ans, vous êtes tous candidats, si vous voulez. Ensuite, le prix Arenberg-Coimbra Group, qui encourage la mobilité estudiantine entre les universités européennes du Coimbra Group dans le cadre du programme Erasmus. Et enfin, le prix Collège de l'Europe, Arenberg, par lequel nous récompensons des travaux qui étudient les mécanismes permettant aux peuples de vivre ensemble, à la fois dans le vrai respect de leurs différences et dans un esprit d'union européen. Estamos también en discusiones con una reconocida universidad española para crear un quinto premio que recompensará los proyectos relacionados con problemas jurídicos en un marco europeo común de referencias. Nous contribuons également à publier des livres, plus d'une trentaine à ce jour. En 2020, nous avons publié 4 ouvrages et cette année, nous allons en publier 2 ou 3, unter anderem eine Geschichte der Grafschaft Blankenheim und des Herzogtums Arenberg als Nachbarn bis zur Französischen Revolution. Wir gratulieren sehr herzlich Dr. Peter Neu, der es geschafft hat, dieses ehrgeizige Projekt in kurzer Zeit zu einem guten Ende zu bringen. D'autres projets d'ouvrages sont dans le pipeline, notamment un livre intitulé Women Warriors, consacré aux femmes soldats de l'armée américaine qui ont été blessées au combat en Afghanistan et en Irak ces dernières années. 2 livres consacrés au pape, un livre sur la correspondance entre le grand révolutionnaire Mirabeau et le comte de la Marque d'Auguste d'Arenberg, un livre sur la mode à la Renaissance. Si nous donnons autant de peine pour contribuer modestement à faire l'Europe d'en bas, celle des citoyens, c'est avec l'idée de contribuer à leur réapprendre à penser par eux-mêmes, à penser lentement, de slow thought, à penser dans le long terme et à penser à nouveau en termes de géopolitique, et il est grand temps de le faire en Europe, me semble-t-il. Let's talk now about the students and research of the day, about Catarina Vanderhoff, our 2021 laureate. She first got a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from the Georg August Universität Göttingen, 2014-2017. Thereafter, she successfully completed a Master of Science in Psychology at the University of Göttingen, 2017-2020. She wrote a master thesis about the job demands of nurses, which proved to be even more relevant due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Catarina Vanderhoff applied for an Erasmus grant in 2018, and by choosing the University of Granada, where she spent 5 months in the academic year 2018-19, her key objective was to improve her language skills and to experience the Hispanic culture and the country. What a good idea. Academically, her motivation was driven by her curiosity in research topics not offered by a home university. Among others, a model about community psychology. This experience reinforced her opinion about the importance of social commitment to our surroundings. She also attended a course on psychology of aging. That's very interesting, which was a good addition to her studies, since she had already taken children and youth psychology and even did an internship in this area. On the 3rd of May this year, she started a new position as scientific assistant at the Institute for Patient Safety at the University Hospital in Bonn. She is the 15th laureate of the Arenberg-Coimbra Group Prize. We warmly congratulate Catarina Vanderhoff for achievements and wish her a long and successful career. This prize is an annual award, and today I would like to encourage all eligible candidates from Coimbra Group universities to apply, as we are launching the 2022 edition. Sincerely yours, muito obrigado pela sua atenção e pazienza. Molte grazie. L'anno prossimo, con piacere, per una nuova edizione del nostro premio Arenberg-Coimbra Group. Thank you so much.
Merci beaucoup, Votre Excellence, pour vos mots de soutien. Thank you very much, Your Highness, for the support, continued support. And also, I would like to indeed keep your optimistic words for the years to come, including the restarting of physical mobility that, as you said, will never replace the virtual mobility will never replace the physical mobility, as you rightly said. Thank you very much, Your Highness.
You.
Catarina, it's now up to you, please.
Dear Duke of Arenberg, dear Coimbra Group, I feel very honored that I was selected to receive this year's prize on my work. I wrote my master's thesis on the work demands of nurses, which has been a pressing issue even before the pandemic. Most countries experience a shortage in trained healthcare professionals, especially in the least developed countries. The United Nations have also recognized this by integrating this topic into the Sustainable Development Goals. I believe that the question of how to ensure working health systems is a topic where we need to network across nations. Moreover, I think due to the pandemic, now more than ever, it is evident how important international cooperation is to solve problems arising in our globalized world. During my time at the University of Granada, I truly learned how important it is to exchange ideas between countries and cultures, especially because the majority of my university classes consisted of group discussions or projects. This learning environment promoted students to learn with and from each other. An Erasmus semester is an amazing opportunity that enriches your life, and you return to your country with an open mind, full of new perspectives and ideas to share. Therefore, I want to thank my home university, especially the people from my institute who made my stay possible, despite some difficulties in the application process. And a huge thank you goes to the University of Granada and to my inspiring professors there. I also thank the Coimbra Group and the Arenberg Foundation for recognizing the importance of the Erasmus program by dedicating this prize to it. So to conclude, I want to bring up a quote by the founder of the Scout movement, where I'm volunteering in my free time, Lord Robert Baden-Powell, which is, leave the world a bit better than you found it. And I think by taking part in the Erasmus program, or by enabling students to experience intercultural exchanges, we are all contributing to this goal. So thank you, gracias, danke.
Thank you very much, Catarina, for the very important words. And as you now become a part of the family of the Coimbra Group Arenberg Ambassadors, it's really a pleasure to hopefully continue to be in contact with you. And you can also be an ambassador for showing how an Erasmus mobility is important in the development of a career. So we all wish you the best for the next years, and we hope to be in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, it's about time to close our event. I would like to know if it's possible to maybe have our 3 finalists back to the scene so we can see you, the 3 early career researchers who made absolutely wonderful presentations, and I would like to maybe give you the opportunity to say a few words. So let's start with the winner, Dunya. If you are still with us, can you say a few words? Congratulations first.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm so happy. It wasn't expected. Thank you for choosing me. The other candidate was really great as well. The subjects were really clear and everything was perfect. Thank you very much. I would like to thank my coaches, Patrick and Dean. They were very helpful for me all around the experience. So big thanks to them and to all the staff of my laboratory, process material and solar energy in France. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Dunya, and we wish you good luck for the next months and years, and keep us in touch if indeed you succeeded in also developing devices that are really changing our lives. We will keep an eye on your work. Thank you, Dunya, and you will stay in touch with us. I would like also to say once again that although we had, the spokeswoman from the jury mentioned that it was actually very, very difficult to make a ranking. So please, I would like to ask you also, Favor and Robin, to say a few words, and please consider that you have done also a wonderful job. So you are also a winner. So Favor, a few words.
Thank you so much. I want to say a big thank you to my family and friends for all their support. And I want to also give a big shout out to my lab, the Elisabetta Dejana lab here at Uppsala and in IFOM Milan. Thank you for all the great and wonderful research you do. Because you are, I can do this. So thank you so much. Thank you, Favor. And the same for you. We wish you the best for your career and let us know what happens. Thank you. Okay. Robin, also a few words and congratulations once again.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to have been included in this list. The other finalists were very strong, and I'm very happy to be able to participate. So thank you to everyone who made it possible, the organizers, from the event itself, and also the people who helped me over here set everything up technically. It was a very nice experience, and hopefully you can do it again next year in a physical format. Yes, we don't want to do that through robots, although your robots will be very helpful. We also wish you the best, Robin, for the next years and your academic career or any research career. Thank you. Thank you also to the technicians and the support from Granada. You have done a wonderful job. Thank you for the support. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to the jury. Thank you for the audience for being here today. This is now the end of our event. We wish you the best. We wish you a restful summer, and we all come back for the next academic year, hopefully also with physical mobility. Take care, you all, and see you soon. Bye.